everyone. We are just waiting for a few more folks to join us, but we are really excited to get started with our Clever 101 webinar. If you're on the line right now, we would like to ask you to go ahead and log in to your Clever dashboard if you're not logged in already. You can do that at clever.com. Log in the upper right-hand corner as a district administrator, and that way you'll be able to follow along with the steps that we go through today. We're also going to pop up a quick poll to just get a sense of who's on the line, where y'all are coming in from, just to give us a little bit of the interaction that we'll have in the rest of the webinar. Hey everyone, thanks for answering the poll. And it looks like we've actually got mostly folks from the East Coast, but we've also got some folks from Alaska and Hawaii and all over the country. So thanks so much for joining us. We've got over 100 folks on today's webinar, and I'm pretty excited to get going with y'all. So there are two of us here that are going to be walking you through all the steps that you'll need to get your Clever integration going, ready for you to use and ready for students and teachers to use. I'm Kirsten. I'm on the district success team, and I work with small and medium-sized school districts all over the country.
Hi, and I'm Liz Allen, and I work with middle and large districts all over the country.
Great. So we've got just a quick agenda for you today. Again, just because this is Clever 101, we're going to start from the beginning and give you a quick about Clever. We're then going to go through the specific pieces of your dashboard and look at those one by one to make sure that you're ready to use Clever successfully. So we're going to talk through syncing data, which is that process of getting data from your student information system over to Clever. We're going to talk about setting up your Clever portal, which is where students and teachers will go. They'll log in at one spot, one username and password to access all of their educational resources. We'll talk about setting up your applications, so actually getting connected with the applications that you might want to use Clever for rostering or for single sign-on or for both. But then we're actually going to spend the majority of our time answering your questions. So definitely don't be shy. Submit those questions through the GoToWebinar interface, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. We'll also be following up after the webinar to answer questions that we didn't get to or that maybe were a little too specific for the group at large. And as you've seen already, this is going to be interactive. So definitely feel free to answer those polls. We'll be popping up a few throughout the webinar. We're also going to have step-by-step instructions available for you after the webinar, as well as in our Help Center, which if you haven't seen it already, is a really great resource. And basically just be engaged, and we are here to entertain you.
All right, so I wanted to give you a brief overview of Clever. So this is the land of Clever before. There was multiple systems, many connection points, CSVs, and data being transferred in many different ways. With Clever, essentially we've created a single point of data transfer. So what does Clever do exactly? Essentially two main things. The first we call Secure Sync, which essentially districts push data from a student information system to Clever and use that use a point and click system to share data with specific applications, creating and rostering accounts in those learning applications. The second is essentially we're an application management system. The portal is a place where teachers and students can find all of their applications in one spot and use a single sign-on, the same username and password, to enter the portal to access all those applications. So we have 250 different applications on Clever, which is awesome. And we have a really broad range, everything from testing applications like NWEA Map to core curriculum like ABC Mouse to teacher tools like the messaging system Remind and Microsoft. So right now, Clever is, we're going to go run through some setup steps for you, and we're going to get right into the meat of things. So we are going to first walk you through a demo where we're going to sync data, walk you through the different steps of that, and then we'll walk you through logging into all of your applications and setting up your portal. Then we'll add applications, as in making sure students and teachers have access to the resources they need. And then we're going to roll out Clever, to talk about how to roll out Clever so you can have a successful first day.
Great. So with that, we are going to pop up another quick poll, which is which Clever features are you using today, so that we can get a sense of which things we should skip over and which things we should pay more attention to. Give this just a few more seconds for you.
Seeing a lot of votes for rostering, which is great because we'll definitely go over that. And instant login, which of course is our single sign-on. Seeing about 50% of you are interested in that, which is great.
Great. So it looks like we have quite a few folks that are using rostering already, and a lot of folks that are using instant login. Fewer folks that are using the Clever portal as a student homepage, or instant login into all applications, or Clever badges. So that's not as surprising to us, because those are some of our newer features. So we'll walk you through those just to give you a sense of how you could be using Clever even more. So from here, we're going to jump right into a demo district, which is my demo district. Hi. So the first thing we'll go through is syncing data with Clever. This is really the foundation of everything that you're going to do with Clever, is getting data from your student information system over to us so that we can help you sync that data to applications, and do that in an automated way that doesn't require you coming in and manually adjusting CSVs or sort of doing an upload every day. So if you are on this webinar, you've probably synced data with Clever already. So we won't go through the very detailed steps of getting that sync going. But if for some reason you haven't synced data already, or you haven't synced data in a while, let us know in the questions interface, and we will be more than happy to connect you with the great folks at Clever who will sort of hold your hand through that initial syncing process. If you have synced already, the best place to go to make sure that that sync is still up and running is actually your home page in your Clever dashboard. So this sync successful on the left-hand side is exactly what you want to see. If we've hit any sort of error, that's going to show up here. There are also a couple of tools within the dashboard that I want to show you to make sure that your sync is working properly. So the sync report, under sync on the left-hand side, sync report, this is going to show you everything that changed in your most recent successful upload to Clever. So it's going to show you how many teachers were created or deleted, that for every sort of record. It's also going to show you any invalid records, so any things that we tried to process but weren't able to. And if there are invalid records, you'll be able to download a CSV so that you can see exactly what those are. Also, take a look at the sync settings page. This is something that's going to look different depending on how your individual district is syncing data with Clever, but this is generally the spot that you'll go to make any adjustments if your sync is running into issues or you need to make a change to how you're syncing data with Clever. And then finally, to make sure that your sync to Clever is successful, you can actually take a look at the data that's coming in. So under Support Tools on the left-hand side, you can click on Data Browser. And here you can see all of the data that's syncing to Clever. You can use the tabs at the top to navigate between different types of data. So if, for example, there's a student who I'm not sure whether she's coming into Clever or not, I can navigate to the Students tab. I can then use filters. Maybe I want to find her first name to narrow down to a particular user. So maybe I'm looking for Abigail. I want to make sure that she's coming into Clever. I can click on her record and see all of the information that's coming into Clever about her.
Great. And next we're going to look at setting up your portal. So this is essentially giving students and teachers access to all of their applications in one place with one username and password. So the first thing you want to do is look at how students are going to be logging in. So under settings, you're going to hit login settings. And this helps you choose which credentials they're going to use. And by credentials, I mean usernames and passwords. And of course, it depends by district, but you could set up Google Apps, you could do ADFS, or our own interface of Clever Passwords, which means you can choose a piece of data you're already syncing and have students use that to sign in. You can do that for students, teachers, of course, your district admin. And we highly recommend that whatever you choose, that you put a username and password hint. It helps for students to remind students what their username and password is. And of course, click Save once you're done. The next thing you want to do is you can go to your portal setting to check out your district-specific URL. So if you can check this out and see it says clever.com/in, and here we've got Clever USD, but this you can change to be something that makes the most sense for your district. And of course, click Save. And this is the URL you want to point all your students and teachers to when they're going to find their applications. The last thing that I want to talk about real quick is Universal Single Sign-On. So this is a new feature that we launched in the fall that allows students and teachers to log into any application using the same username and password, even if the application is not yet partnered with Clever. And so essentially this works as a password locker. And you can click this box to enable it and obviously save, and that will allow you to add any application to Clever and give your students access using a single username and password. The other option I want to flag real quick, since we've had a couple questions about it, was badges. And this is our QR code system where each student gets a unique QR code. We recommend this for K through 2, so the youngest kiddos can log in to their learning applications easily without having to type the username and password. They hold up the QR code to the camera and it logs them in really easily. So you can manage that in this badges settings tab.
Great, and now that you've got the spot that students and teachers are going to land in once they log into Clever, you'll want to go ahead and set up your applications. So on the left-hand side, Applications is what we'll click on, and then we'll click Add Applications. And this is actually my favorite page in the entire Clever dashboard, so lucky us. So you here can filter by different application types. So if you're interested in apps that are new on Clever or apps that are free, you can go ahead and filter by that. You can also search for particular apps that you're looking for. So it looks like I have already selected iCivics. Let me go ahead and remove that so that I can search for it over here. So if this is an application that I'm using in my district, I'm going to go ahead and select it. So you can see below the application is a little bit about how that particular app works with Clever. So iCivics works with Clever for both secure sync, so both that automatic rostering and for instant login. So we automatically will log students in at one spot with one username and password and get them into their iCivics account. So when you are searching through applications, make sure to take a look at below the application, that little description. So not only do we have Secure Sync and Instant Login, we also have saved passwords, which is what Liz was talking about just a moment ago, that universal single sign-on feature. You're only going to see these saved passwords applications if you've clicked to enable saved passwords, that USSO, on that other page. So if you haven't done that, make sure to go back and do that so that you can see all the great apps that are available. You can actually add any application you want via saved passwords. And the setup process is just a little different, but it still looks pretty similar. If you are interested in adding applications through Clever, but are thinking, I don't know how my applications work with Clever, and I don't know what the next steps would be for each kind of application, we are here to help. So this is something that we haven't offered districts in the past, but are offering you all on the webinar today. So if you want us to match your list of applications with how those applications work with Clever, give you a really nice list back that's just which applications work with us in which way, and also what the next steps will be to get those applications set up, we are more than happy to do that. So I'm going to pop up a little poll here. And if you are interested in having us go through and just do that matching for you, send that back to you in an email, just go ahead and click definitely, and we will follow up, get that list of applications, and then send it back to you. Looks like we're getting some takers so far, so we'll have a little bit of work to do this afternoon. It's great, though. We're happy to do it. Great. Well, for those of you that marked definitely, we are definitely going to go ahead and follow up this afternoon just to get that list of applications so that we can go ahead and do that matching. If for some reason you change your mind during the webinar, definitely feel free to put that in the questions interface and we'll follow up with you as well. Perfect. So now that we've got an application selected, I'm actually going to go through the process of completing the setup. So we've got iCivics over here on the right-hand side. If you didn't see it, I just click select. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. So this is going to give me a little bit of information about the next step and how this application works with Clever. So iCivics is actually a free application, so there's no approval required to get them going, which is why we have chosen them for the setup today. For most applications that you would roster with, the application has to approve your request to connect. So this Add Applications interface is just going to send a message to the application saying, hey, I'd like to connect with Clever, please. And the application will get back to you saying, yep, that sounds great. So the next piece is basically figuring out which students should have access to this application. So which students are going to have accounts in applications that are rostering, and which applications are going to show up on which student's portal page. The really nice thing about the Clever portal page is that when students log in, they only see the applications that they have access to. So they won't see any dead links. Any application they click on, they're going to be directed right into their account. So here we have a few different ways to select which students will be shared with iCivics so that iCivics can create accounts. So at the bottom, we've got our least granular option, but also the simplest, share the entire district. So if this is a resource that I think should be used district-wide that a lot of folks would be interested in, I can go ahead and share by district. You can also share by school, share by individual sections. We're going to use my favorite sharing interface, which is share by rules, which gives you the most control over who's shared with the application. So here we've got a few different sort of prototypes for rules. I'm going to go ahead and click custom share by section in the bottom left-hand corner, which is going to give me the option to share only sections that meet a particular criteria. So here I'm going to say I only want sections with a particular subject. So if the subject is, let's see, maybe English language arts, then I want to share this section with iCivics. So only those sections will be shared and only the students in them will be shared. I can now either add a new filter to narrow this down even more, or I can click Done Editing, which is what I'm going to do next. Here I can see a little preview of who would be shared given this rule. This rule looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and save that rule. And this is just letting me know that iCivics is going to have access to these students' data so that iCivics can provision accounts. Great, and now iCivics is actually up and available for my students to use. So if they logged in to their Clever dashboard or their Clever portal, they would click on iCivics and be directed right into a brand new account that would be created for them. And then one final piece, so if you are not sure what the next step is for your application, you can always check that out on the homepage. So each application is going to have a next step sort of listed for it. Anything that's not in blue on the left-hand side means that there's a next step outstanding. So you can click on the application to get a little bit more information about what the next step is. And then finally, Clever actually does something that I think is kind of nice. So we will run the data that you are sharing with us and then sharing with the application against the list of requirements for data that the application has shared with us. So under, let's see, under support tools on the left-hand side, you can go ahead and click on data warnings. And this is going to show you all the requirements for all of your applications. And it's going to show you whether you are sharing any users that don't meet that requirement, that application's requirement. Data requirements are things to pay close attention to. These could interfere with provisioning accounts. Data warnings are a little lighter, so don't worry about these as much, but definitely still something to look at if you're seeing any issues. And then you can also download a CSV of any issues that you've got so that you can take a closer look at which students or teachers might be impacted.
All right, and so now we're on our last step, which is rolling this out to your district. So since Clever works in over 50% of the schools in the US and 30 million students, and so we have a few best practices to share and things that we've seen districts do very successfully. So the first thing you want to do once you set this up is make sure that you're communicating with your teachers. So one of the best ways to do that is to email your teachers and explain what is happening. So we offer automatic emails if you want to sign up for those. You can click this little checkbox under email teacher notifications. So when you add a different application, it will automatically send your teachers an email letting them know that application is now available through Clever. Obviously, and click save. And that's also true actually for any application. If you click into, for example, we just added iCivics, super excited, want to tell our teachers and students how to log in. At the bottom here, you can see you can download login instructions and it will give specific login instructions for that application. You can download this, attach it to an email, and send it to your teachers, students, or tech leads at a school. Another thing that we've seen districts do very successfully is go ahead and bookmark the URL page for your district. So this URL that we set earlier, you can go ahead and bookmark this on your computers. Makes for easy access, or push a tile to a desktop if you're using if you have computers that can be centrally managed. The last thing that we recommend is to look into applications and go to usage metrics. This is an interface that shows you how and when your students and teachers have been logging in. Obviously, this is a demo district, not real students, so no real data. However, if you were to push on this in your own district, you could see the users by app, and of course, which schools, unique students have logged into each application. This is really great for troubleshooting. So you can see, okay, we have X number of licenses for this application, and I see the schools that using it, and you can do some troubleshooting. Maybe they need more teacher PD, maybe it's a bandwidth issue, maybe it's a hardware issue, but this can really help districts diagnose and improve usage within the district. And you can, of course, export any of these to CSVs for a more granular look. So that's where we are with our portal, and we've finished our demo. So just to run through those steps one more time. First, remember you're going to be syncing data with Clever, making sure things are up and running and the correct students, sections, teachers, fields are shared with the right application. Then you want to set up your portal, which includes logging in, changing your URL, and getting that going. Next, you want to add applications through the interface where you can choose single sign, secure sync, instant login, safe passwords if you've got universal single sign-on enabled. And last, you want to roll this out so that your students and teachers can have a wonderful experience. And we did want to give you a quick look at what this looks like for a student. So again, this is a video of us logging into student data within the interface. So we've entered a student username, of course, a password. And as I click in, they will see just the applications that are scoped to the student. And they can scroll down and find the application they want and click login. They don't have to enter username or password again. It will open a new tab, bring them into the application, and you can see this is for Lottie, and she's already got an account provisioned on the upper right side that is specific to her. So that's what the student interface will look like.
Great, and without further ado, we want to move into your questions. Just to give us a sense of the best place to spend our time, we are going to ask you which features you're interested in learning more about, and I'll go ahead and launch that poll now. But also feel free to ask questions in this GoToWebinar interface. We're about to get to some of the most popular ones.
Great. So one of the first questions we see coming in is how often do districts sync their data with Clever? I would say most districts, the vast majority, sync nightly. So every night they'll set a sync for after school is over. Once students have that data has calmed down and it's correct in the student information system, they'll sync with Clever. And so every day, if students change schools or moved classrooms, etc., they'll show up the next morning correctly synced into the right class. So if you're in a high mobility district, this is especially useful because you can, because of the automatic sync, even if a student switches schools, many times they'll show up with all their accounts provisioned the next day.
Great. So looks like we've got a lot of interest in instant login into non-partnered applications. So that saved passwords feature. And then also Clever badges. And then also some folks interested in roster syncing, instant login into partnered applications. And then the Clever portal is the homepage. Great. All right. Well, we got just one housekeeping question that I'll get out of the way, which is this webinar recording is going to be emailed out to y'all afterwards. Not only that, but we'll have another webinar that's going to cover exactly the same material in a couple of weeks. So we will email out details about that. So if there are folks on your team who you're thinking, wow, this would be really helpful for them, definitely feel free to get them to sign up. We got a great question about the teacher notification tool. So that checkbox, if you'll remember, saying that teachers will get an email anytime a new application is launched. Let's see, is that under portal settings or login settings? Yes, perfect. So under instant login settings at the bottom of the page, this notify teachers when they get a new instant login application. Is that email sent when the application is added or when the application is actually launched? So this email will be sent when the application is actually launched, meaning that all the setup steps are ready to go. And if it's a rostered application, then the application has actually said, yep, their accounts are ready. So they shouldn't be getting those emails before their accounts are ready to go.
All right, and I see a question about Clever badges. And the question is whether Clever badges work with Chromebooks or they work with Windows or the Chrome browser. And Clever badges will work to get you into the Clever portal on any computer that you're using as long as there is a camera. One of the neat features that we launched is a partnership with Chromebooks where students can log into the Chromebook directly into Clever using their badge. So essentially they open the Chromebook, hold up the QR code, their badge, and it goes directly in. You can find how to set that up if you go under settings, badge settings. You'll see a little box that says use Clever badges with Chromebooks, and you can first watch a video in action if you want to, and then launch setup. And this is a setup wizard that will take you through how to set up Clever badges with Chromebooks. But you do not need to have a Chromebook in order to use the badges feature.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we've got to see working in schools, which has been really exciting. We actually went out and saw some students logging in with the Clever badges into the Chromebooks, and we missed it the first time. It happened so fast. We had to ask them to do it again. We got a question about usage data. So it looks like the school by school data was only available on a daily basis. Is there a way to see more granular activity or over a longer period of time? So at the moment, the usage metrics page sort of is the report that we've got, but our product team is actually investing in an upgraded version of that usage metrics. So if there are particular things that you would want to see in the next version of that usage metrics page, definitely let us know. We found it to be a pretty powerful tool for districts that are monitoring the rollout of their applications and that want to make sure that those apps are actually being used.
I see a question about the cost for Clever. Clever is we don't charge districts to use Clever or any of the features that we've discussed today. So you can use badges, universal single sign-on, setup and sync and rostering, and all of that is at no cost to the district.
Great, and got a question about sharing rules. So can you control specific students at your school and whether they have access to specific applications? You absolutely can. So we showed you before the interface for setting sharing rules. So I'm actually going to go back into iCivics and show you what it would look like to sort of add to this rule. I'm going to go back into data sharing. So if there was a particular student that needed to be added, I could just go edit my sharing rules. I could add another rule. And then I want to, I want to custom share by student. So if they're, in the example that the person asking the question gave, maybe this should be shared with all 8th grade students, but maybe there are just a couple of 7th grade students that should also have the application shared with them. So let's go ahead and look at the options that we've got for the dropdown. So I think student SIS number would be a great way to identify those specific students. Then we would say equals any of, and then we could select the specific student SIS numbers that we wanted to add to iCivics. So here we've got everyone in an English language arts section, plus these 2 individual students being shared with iCivics. And then we'll go ahead and save that sharing rule.
All right, awesome. I see a question about some of the applications on the Add Application page. And you'll see here that some of these applications might not show up in yours. And these applications are probably the ones that say saved passwords afterwards. So for example, Renaissance says saved passwords. And again, just to go over this, you have to enable universal single sign-on in order to use this saved passwords, password locker feature. And that can be done by going into portal settings and clicking on enable single sign-on for all applications and clicking save. Once you've done that, you can go back in to applications and add applications, and you will see the saved password application should show up. Just to clarify though, this allows students and teachers to use single sign-on to get into those applications. These do not say secure sync. Secure sync means rostering. So these you can get into using a single sign-on, but they will not be rostered through the Clever interface.
Great, and if folks have questions about setting up those saved passwords applications, we can go through that setup, but I'll wait to see if there are additional questions on that before spending a little more time there. We got one more question about the Clever Chromebook and badge integration. Let's see. So the asker is asking about getting those Clever badges to automatically log folks into the Chromebook. So in order to have that setup going, basically you'll need to make some adjustments within your Google admin console. And if you haven't done that already, you can go ahead and launch setup here, and that'll give you all of the instructions step by step with screenshots to getting that set up within your Google admin console. One of the questions that frequently comes up is, can I have the badges log some students in on some Chromebooks, but not other students on others? Yes, absolutely. You can limit which students this badge login will show up to by organizational unit.
All right, we've had a couple iPad questions. So right now we are working on our iPad app. We're updating it. It's going over a big overhaul, and it will be up and running before back to school 2017 and 18. And that will include a much broader range of tools for the iPad app. So just wanted to flag that is coming down the pipe, which is great. I'm seeing a few questions about custom links, which is wonderful. So also within this interface, we are going to go to the portal to kind of walk you through something else that you can do in terms of adding links. So let's say you want to add like Wikipedia or YouTube or the like applications that are really just links for your students. Maybe you want to add a Google form that's got a bunch of questions and you want to do some surveying through the Google portal, or you want to add the lunch menu or the library page or something. That's all very easy to do. And what you can do is when you are logged into your portal, you can click this button that says customize. And what this allows you to do is add category or change category names. So for example, you could be like, what I'd really like this to be is my STEM applications. And you can label it what you want. You can move tiles around. And then you can also, if you click into edit, you can scope. It's kind of like a limited sharing rules interface. So you can be like, we actually don't want all students in all grades. We want them just Wikipedia. We really only want available to our 11th graders and 12th graders. And maybe we want them only in the following schools, and we want it just in our high school. And then you can save that, and this Wikipedia link will only show up for those users and will not show up in the students' portals. You can publish your changes, and of course you'll have a new category, and you can also, and to flag this, you can move these categories around. So you could put STEM applications at the bottom, etc. And so these are considered what we call additional links, and they just are things that don't need to be single. You don't need a username and password to get into, and they obviously do not need to be rostered, so they're not specific for the student.
So we've gotten a few more questions about universal single sign-on, which is great. So I will go ahead and give us a little bit more information there. So let me just go ahead and log back into my Clever account. The demo game is a game of logging in and logging out and logging in and logging out. Great, so I am logged back into my Clever Demo District. So again, you're gonna need to enable universal single sign-on within these login settings. So, in the portal settings. We divided those pages up really recently. So you'll wanna enable single sign-on for all applications. We got a question about whether this changes anything for users. Absolutely not. All this does is basically changes what you see when you scroll through the app gallery as a district administrator. So enabling single sign-on just gives you some more options, but doesn't actually change anything for students. So then when you are scrolling through that application gallery and find applications that are saved passwords, you can go ahead and add them in exactly the same way. So you'll select the application and then you'll move on to the page where you actually choose which users have access. So one thing to note is that there are more applications in the world, in the universe, than we've currently got in the application gallery. If for some reason you find an application that you're looking for that's not in the application gallery, so I'm just typed in some random letters here, looks like it doesn't match an app, you can request a single sign-on for that application, and we'll go ahead and build that connector for you. So for the saved passwords application, I'm going to go ahead and click next. This is giving me a little bit more information. So this is saying Clever is going to provide single sign-on into this application. So this is another question that comes up really frequently. Will setting up single sign-on via saved passwords change anything in the application? And it will not, which is a great thing for folks that are looking to pilot this in the middle of the year or maybe even roll it out in the middle of the year. So we can set up these applications. If no one uses them, nothing changes. If folks are coming in through Clever anyway, then they'll get to have single sign-on into these applications. But for the app, it looks exactly the same as if a student had just entered their username and password. So from here, we are going to basically make one choice, which is whether you want to upload credentials for all the students or go ahead and have them enter those credentials the first time they log in. So most districts that I work with have chosen to have students enter credentials the first time they log in. So what that will look like, we actually have a slide for it. Let me go ahead and take a look at our slide. Just to give you a sense of what this looks like for students. So the student would log into Clever. If they've got a saved password application that hasn't had credentials entered for it already, they would click on that application, and then we would have them enter their username and password for this application, which this one is Quizlet. They'd log into that application, and then the next time that they logged into Clever and clicked on Quizlet, they would go right into that app. They wouldn't have to enter any additional credentials. So one other thing that you'll want to do to make sure that you get these applications set up is you'll actually, in the same way that we did with the Secure Sync application, we choose which users will see this app when they log in. So you can do that via these same rules or these same options that we had before.
All right, we got a bunch more questions about badges, which is great. Again, you can find that under settings, badge settings, and you can find information about this. So badges can be generated in a couple different ways. You can generate them here. If you're district admin, you can hit generate all badges. There's also a button, so let's say you have new students who came into your district, you can generate just badges for those few new students, and then go ahead and distribute those badges to the teachers and schools that need them. In very large districts, this can be pretty cumbersome. So if you're a teacher, when your teacher logs into the portal, they can click on a tab up here that says Students instead of Dashboard. And under that, they can regenerate a badge for students. They can generate badges for their classes, and they can kind of manage, the teachers will be able to manage their own class within the Clever portal, especially in terms of badge printing. Badges are designed to be printed on Avery labels. And we find that just some districts take those stickers and put them on note cards, some put them on the back of their bus passes, some create lanyards and the kiddos decorate them with stickers and they wear their badges around. It kind of depends how the district does it, but essentially we don't sell any equipment for badges, and you of course can print it on. I'm sure you can print these on thicker plastic if you wanted to, but we found that the Avery labels has been very successful for other districts and allows students to put them on a whole variety of materials.
Great, and we got one question here that I'm interested to learn more about, which is, what do you say to teachers that say that Clever is nothing more than glorified bookmarks? So we are excited to be able to provide hopefully more than just a Google page that's got a whole bunch of bookmarks on it. Really, the power of Clever is in two separate things. So first, you're rostering a lot of these applications through Clever, and also you're choosing which students each link will show up to. So unlike a page of bookmarks, Clever is only going to show students the applications that they personally actually have access to. So if you you logged in as 2 different 7th graders, you might have a totally different set of resources. And that's something that folks have found pretty helpful and a little different than some of the other portal solutions that are out there. The other thing is that Clever provides this instant login. So folks only have to remember one spot to go. They only have to remember one username and password, as opposed to if you just had a whole page of links, folks would have to log in probably with different credentials at each spot that they would go. So this is very helpful for especially students who have trouble logging in. We do also have some tools for teachers to help students if they have any trouble logging in. If you're curious about that, definitely feel free to ask questions about that. But teachers do have tools to support students in logging in if they've forgotten their username or password.
All right, we're gonna hop back to some badges question, and I'm gonna see if Kirsten can get us into a demo for teachers, a teacher login.
A teacher login?
A teacher portal, sorry.
Oh, sure.
While I answer this question about Avery labels.
Yeah.
So the PDFs are designed to match on the badges. The Avery label should be a 2-inch square Avery label so that you can print them out and distribute to your students. If the number is 22806, you can get like packs of 300 through Amazon or any number of different places. So essentially 2x2. The number is 22806, so hopefully that can help the people who are having questions about that. Here we want to figure out if you can print badges by organizational units. So maybe you could just print badges for, Miss Gutierrez's 1st grade class or something like that. And so, yes, that is correct. So if you go into the teacher interface.
And just a quick tip, this is actually something that you can do yourself. This is our public instant login demo. So this is available at clever.com/in, like the opposite of out, /demo. And as you type in the username and password, the username and password will appear here. So this is something that you can take home with you.
Great. And so this is what the teacher portal or the teacher interface looks like. And you'll see the teacher name. You can see help here, which will give them different help centers. So that helps them resetting student passwords, how to help the students. And if you go into students themselves, you can print a class set of badges, which is easy, or you can click into the student and either print out Sarah's badge, which does not invalidate it, just prints an existing badge. You can void the current badge. You can also generate a one-time login code. So those are the options available for teachers. Again, printing the existing, so not overriding necessarily. Void the badge if she lost it, generate the one-time login code. So that helps teachers problem solve within their own class, or they, of course, can print a set of badges. And just to remind folks that if you at the district admin level have added maybe information just for teachers, like the Clever homepage, which maybe you added as an external link, or as a link within the customized a part of your portal, this might not show up for all students, but maybe it's just showing up for teachers. And so that's something else that you will see. So this might look different than the student portal itself.
Great, and we got a really good question that we have been answering a lot since the launch of our new universal single sign-on. So what is the difference between instant login and saved passwords for applications? So instant login is something that we've offered for quite a while. So instant login is single sign-on into applications that doesn't really require setup. So you connect with that application, you let us know which students should have access, and then we can automatically log that student in using their Google credentials, Active Directory credentials, whatever you've got set up with Clever without any additional setup. Saved passwords does require one additional step, which is either uploading credentials for all of your students or having students enter those credentials the first time that they log into Clever and click on that application. So instant login doesn't have that additional step. They click on the app for the first time and go straight into their existing account. Saved passwords, they will either enter those credentials or you'll upload them for students on the back end. But every time after that first login, those applications will look exactly the same to students and have the exact same functionality.
Yeah, and just really quick on that one other question. You of course can go ahead and launch that without changing the without changing the student experience. Apologize. So you can go ahead and start and launch Save Passwords and Universal Single Sign-On without changing the student experience, and it wouldn't change the rostering or anything you would need to do on the back end. And let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, so I got a question about adding the Clever portal inside another web page. So let's say you already have a intranet, you can add this URL or the Clever tile into any other page that you have. We have some districts who have done that very successfully and just added it. We also have seen districts do the opposite, particularly once they launch badges. They will actually take the intranet and put it in as a link into the Clever portal so that the youngest kiddos, the littlest learners, can badge into the Clever portal and just click on the intranet and then get to their applications from there, because it saves the kiddos so much time.
Great. And then we got a question about rostering apps, adding roster apps mid-year. So adding those Secure Sync apps mid-year. So you might be using one of these applications already in your district. Maybe you've been using it for a while and are thinking, wow, it would be really nice to not have to upload those CSVs every day or a couple of days. It would be nice to just add that to my Clever Sync and not have to think about that rostering piece. So definitely feel free to request applications, even those that you're already using today or over the next week or so. So when you submit that request, all you're doing is sort of asking the application, hey, I'd like to connect via Clever. Then you'll want to have a conversation with the application, your rep there, about whether that app is able to sort of match user accounts that exist outside of Clever with those that would be created within Clever. So for some of those applications, that's a pretty easy process, and we can go ahead and get you set up today or over the next week. For some applications, it's going to kind of make sense to postpone that a little bit so that we don't lose any data in those applications. But definitely feel free to submit those requests. That's how you get that conversation started.
Yeah, I see a question about demoing this in 1 or 2 classrooms, which I think is a great question and a great idea. We strongly recommend and endorse piloting both programs before you buy them and Clever before you go full district wide. So the best way to do that is if you go back into your district dashboard and you click on add applications. I would add a few applications, those that roster and those that are just free. And the best way to do that is to go obviously into the add application flow, add your applications, and then scope those applications to 1 or 2 tech forward schools or classrooms. So you know, for example, that Mr. Daniels is a really tech forward teacher. He's 1-to-1 Chromebooks or 1-to-1 any device, and he's like to try things out. So talk to him, and when you go ahead in and add an application, you can figure out, you can add a free application, add a rostered application, and let's go ahead and add this. And when you go in, you would just scope this application to the one teacher. And you can do that by share by rules. And you could do you can custom share by one student, handpick list of teachers, custom share teachers. So for example, you could go in and share with just these top 2 teachers, and that would be it. And then have that teacher roll out and demo the portal or badges or logging into those applications to making sure it works. We highly recommend doing this while school is in session and you've got real live data, so before the end of the school year.
Yeah, and then we had a great question about Secure Sync apps. So those apps that are rostered via Clever. So if we go back into the Add Applications page, So you can see that with some of these applications, with actually most of the applications that have Secure Sync, they also have instant login enabled. So the question was basically, can you add these Secure Sync apps to the Clever portal? With any app that's both Secure Sync and instant login, it's going to show up automatically for students who are scoped into that application. So there's no setup work to do at all beyond that sharing of data and making sure that you get approval from that application. So that's something that is just going to happen automatically. You don't have to sort of do anything to get those going in the Clever portal.
Great. So I have a question about where are we? Great, we've got got a lot of questions, and we're down to our last 5 minutes, so we're trying to prioritize here. It seems like we've answered quite a few of these. Yeah, I can do that. Do you have?
Yeah, so we got a question about whether sharing rules can be set by students and teachers. So at the moment, only district administrators can really go in and set sharing rules. It's usually either a district or a school level decision who should have access to those applications. However, Clever is working on more user roles. So roles for different types of folks in Clever that might have some of the abilities of a district administrator, but maybe not others. So maybe you would want a school tech lead, a person like that, to be able to actually set those sharing rules. That's something that we are actually piloting right now and are hoping to launch in the very near future. And then also giving teachers a little bit more control over what appears on that portal page is something that our product team is working on as we speak.
All right, and we got one question about how does Clever generate revenue, and do we have to worry about it being free and not being free in the future, which is a great question. So right now, Clever offers, because there's like hundreds of student information systems, and Clever has already built kind of a very secure connection with all of the student information systems. We offer a big value to applications. So they essentially the applications will pay Clever for the secure connection. We also have a security and privacy team that spends a lot of time making sure that moving that data around is very secure, meets all federal and state regulations, and is kind of above industry standards. So applications pay for Clever, and then we offer our services free to districts. And so that's the way we actually, a lot of value for districts, a lot of value for applications. And we've essentially kind of created this value proposition on both sides, which is great.
Great. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So we have gotten a lot of great questions, only a small portion of which we've been able to actually answer on the webinar today. So we are going to follow up. The district success team is going to be working hard to get your questions answered over the next 24, 48 hours-ish. And then we'll also be reaching out if you answered yes or interested in this for the districts that want us to match your application list. So definitely feel free to let us know that that's something that you want in these last remaining seconds of our webinar. And then we'll follow up, match those application lists, and get that back to you. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining today. I know Liz and I had a great time and hope you all did too.
Great. Thanks so much.